1971 to 1974. Strat-O-Matic Excel Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Trawler.
Game 149, Pirates at Reds.
Welcome back, baseball fans. 1971-74 Carryover League. Back into some divisional round of 7 games, and we start with a heavyweight fight right out of the box and a key, pivotal series for the timeline, for the way I run this league, and for a realignment which puts the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cincinnati Reds in the same division, away from their traditional rivals that would have been there in the 70s. For the Reds, that means the Dodgers. For the Pirates, it means, I guess, the Mets, Phillies, Cubs, Cards. But the Pirates and Reds are nasty neighbors that despise each other, and they're in the same division, which means you can't have 2 division winners here. One of these teams would have to hope for a wild card, and it has been, in my recent documentation, the Reds have been the big brother in this. And as much as the Pirates win the 71 World Series, have the best record in baseball in 72, it is the Reds who claim the hardware, at least 1 World Series championship, another appearance in the last 3 years. The Pirates have done very little. And so that's the setup here for a very extremely important best of 7, even though we're very early in our season, of course. So let's see what has happened as this thing opened up in Pittsburgh. Game 1, Gary Nolan, World Series MVP a year ago, against Jim Rooker. And it is a 2-run homer by Bob Robertson, giving the Pirates an early 2-0 lead. But Jim Rooker started well, perfect 12 outs, and then in the 5th and 6th innings he stumbles. A walk, an error by Larry Milbourne, a couple of singles, gets 2 runs, and then a walk, single, and a 2-run homer by Dave Concepcion. And it's suddenly a 5-3 game, and that's how the game ends. Gary Nolan pitches into the 9th inning. Big game Gary Nolan, we could say. Clay Carroll gets another save. He's pretty spotless in the regular season. And the Pirates, well, again, the big brother comes to town and makes a mess of things. Reds win in Pittsburgh 5-3. Let's take a look at Game 2 now. Game 2, oh boy. We have Don Gullett versus Steve Blass, the ace of each team. And the Reds win this one 3-1. Don Gullett, 8 innings, 6 hits, just a run. Clay Carroll with a save. Steve Blass goes 8 innings, pitches pretty good. 7 hits, 3 earned runs. It's a solo homer by Gale Hopkins, who actually played for Kansas City. I think he played for the White Sox for a little bit, maybe. Gale Hopkins, previously Mike Fiore, previously Bernie Carbo. The Reds just signed a DH from the American League, and that particular roster spot has contributed. And they have, Pete Rose gets an RBI single in the 7th. The only Pirate run, a solo homer by Willie Stargell, who's trying his hardest this year. Ladies and gentlemen, Cincinnati Reds just walk into Pittsburgh, take 2, they take 2 skins there. 2 skins in Pittsburgh, and oh my goodness. So what happens to the Pirates when the series flips to Cincy? Game 3, Bob Moose. Bob Moose is on the loose against Ross Grimsley. Grimsley's a decent starter 6, but he gets up a homer to Bob Robertson, and in his middle innings he stumbles. RBI single by Sanguian, 2-run homer by Richie Zisk. Meanwhile, Bob Moose does something unthinkable. A complete game shutout of the Cincinnati Reds. There's not a lot of guys in my league who have done something like that. Bob Moose just did it. 5 hits, a walk, 7 Ks. And the Pirates, and more interestingly, the road team, has won the first 3 games. And I've always said road wins are so important. Well, it kind of shows that these two teams do have a high pedigree. They've all won on the road, 3 straight. So what happens in the pivotal Game 4? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the big red machine finally gets this thing cranked up to previous standards. You got Alan Foster, a greenhorn in there, signed away from the Cardinal system, against Steve Busby. Interesting player, Reds signed away from Kansas City. So 2 guys who didn't even play for these respective teams got there in my carryover league, and the Reds rode an RBI single by Lee May in the first, RBI single by Pete Rose in the second. In the 6th inning, a 2-run homer by Dave Concepcion. And yeah, it's true. In the 7th inning, another 2-run homer by Dave Concepcion. Oh, I think it had maybe 8 or 9 homers. Gotta look at the card when we play here. This is an 8-1 win, and suddenly, the Reds are thinking, worst case, even if the Pirates come back and win this series, 4-3, the Reds would only lose, a half game, 1 game to the Pirates in the overall standings. So this is not the changing of the guard by any stretch. It's not like the Pirates are going to dump the Reds this year and get that prestigious, 71 World Series championship they got. At least not yet, anyway. The Reds are still standing on them, up 3-1, and here we have a Game 5 today in Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. Beyond must win. The Pirates cannot afford to lose 4-1 to the Reds and be embarrassed for the 3rd, 4th year in a row. So it's time for the little brother to get it going against the Reds here from Cincinnati. Today's starting pitchers, we're going to go back to the Game 2 matchup on short rest. Steve Blass, who was your 1971 Game 7 victor in Baltimore against Mike Cuellar, with a 15-8 record and a 2.85 ERA, and arguably his best year of 1971. And for the Reds, the very experienced Don Gullett, 16-6, 264 and 71 in 218 innings. This is Game 149. Let's get started from Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, and it'll be Richie Hebner getting the leadoff spot. The Pirates are juggling this lineup. They need to generate some crooked number runs. I mean, the Reds have a good pitching staff, but not this good. Not enough to stuff the Pirates to less than 3 runs a game here for 4 straight games. Richie Hebner, 49 off Gullett to pop out. Sanguine, 35, flies out to left. Roberto Clemente, 57, well, strikeout. Not the start the Pirates needed. Bob Tolan leading off for the Reds. 47 is a base hit off Blast. Double-A stealer. You got great defensive catchers, Sanguine and Bench. But you know what? With gas in the tank, the Reds up 3-1. Tolan's going to challenge the arm. And he rolls a 4 and steals second base. The Double-A of Bob Tolan. That's what you can do when you're winning a series, when you're ahead in the series. You can start doing these glamour things. Trying to strangle the Pirates. All right, runner at second for Pete Rose. 69, flies to left. Tony Perez, 5'11", second X. Today we have Mazeroski. He's a 2E10 at second base. Makes the play. We got Tolan at third now with 2 outs, and it's Johnny Bench. 37, let's take a look, ladies and gentlemen, at Johnny Bench's card. 1972, adding to his collection, a second MVP award for a 24-year-old catcher. That is unbelievable. 24. It doesn't even seem right. I have always double-checked this, and you guys are welcome to do it. But how can a 24-year-old have 2 MVP awards and play catcher? It's stunning. Arguably, well, I'll just throw he might be the greatest ever, but yeah. Johnny Bench, 37, is their base hit, and that scores the run. Lee May with 2 outs. 1-5 is a strikeout. Reds are up 1-0 as we go to the second. It'll be Pops Stargell, 33, flies a rate. Bob Robertson, 65, hits the Gullett column with a double. Got a runner in scoring position for Al Oliver. 35, single 1 to 10, gets the single. Runners in the corners for Zisk. Reds are going to play back with a lead, hope for double play. Pitch to Richie Zisk. 5-10 off gullet, catcher's card. Bench, 1-9, like to get a foul out here if you can. And they do. He gets the foul out, meaning that no one scores. It's hard to get a pass ball on one catcher, and that just happened. That they couldn't get it. So it's Frank Tavares. Pitch to Frank. 35. Frank Tavares rolls to short. Bottom of the second. Gale Hopkins. 68 pops to short. Dave Concepcion 211 pops to second. Geronimo 210. Let's take a look at the Cesar Geronimo card. The Reds waited patiently in this recreation. They could have brought him in or gotten him from the Astros from a 71, 2, or 3, but the batting average was not there. They waited to get this 74 card on the team and have him coexist with Bobby Tolan. Tolan's playing right, Geronimo's playing center. 210, Geronimo, homer 1-11 double. It is gone for Cesar Geronimo, and we have a 2-0 game. Batting ninth, Jim Stewart. 2-5 rolls to first. Well, we go to the third. Bill Mazeroski. 1-3. Pop to second. He wants to try and get one more World Series title before he retires. Richie Hebner. 3-10. Base hit. Retire run. Manny Sanguillen. 2-8. Let's take a look at the Manny Sanguillen card of 1972. Hit 298 with this card and really crushes lefties. Doesn't have power against them though, but he crushes them. 2-8 is double 1 to 14, and we have runners at second and third. Tying runs in scoring position for Roberto Clemente. 54 off gullet is a sac fly to right field. Tie run at second with 2 outs in a 1-run game. It's Willie Stargell. 59 flies to left. Gullet is probably pleased to give up just 1 run in that frame. Bottom of the third, Bobby Tolan. 2-7's a strikeout. Pete Rose, 34, rolls to the mound. And Tony Perez, 110 is a single. Johnny Bench. 2-7, he's got another one. Double 1 to 6, it's a single. Runners in the corners with 2 outs for Lee May. 48 off blast is a walk, and a big at-bat here. My goodness, folks. Big at-bat for Gale Hopkins. Let's take a look at his card before he swings. Gale Hopkins was a Kansas City Royal in 71 at 278. Would, of course, not play DH in that year. Didn't exist yet, but you could see how Gale Hopkins would be an ideal DH candidate universally in both leagues. And here he is right now at a big moment. Bases loaded, 2 outs. The pitch to Gale Hopkins. 1-7 misses the grand slam by 1 dice roll and flies to center field. Wow. Very important game. Very exciting game. We go to the fourth. It's Bob Robertson. 68. Single 1 to 10 off gullet is the base hit. Now it's Al Oliver. 5-11. Pitcher X. Gullet is an E6. This should be 2. And that is a double play on the 9 E rating. He's better than that, so we stick with a double play. And with 2 outs, it's Richie Zisk. 1-11 rolls to third. Bottom of the fourth, it's Concepcion, who has, 3 home runs in this series. Very shocking. 47 is a single 1 to 17 off blast, but he rolls a 20. Geronimo with a big blast earlier. 3-11 is a fly out to right. And 2 outs, Jimmy Stewart is a strikeout. Stewart starting the game at second over Tommy Helms to get an extra left-hander in there against blasts. Helms should be brought in soon as a defensive replacement, you would think. Top of the fifth, Frank Tavares will lead off. 53, rolls with the pitcher. Mazeroski. 3-11, flies to left and an injury. Well, the 254 hitting Mazeroski will leave, and the 353 Rennie Stennett will come in. Stennett plays versus righties. We have Mazeroski in there today because Mazeroski had been crushing left-handers and being a great defensive second baseman on the road, where defense is really important. Richie Hebner with 2 outs now. And the pitch to Richie. 2-7 is a strikeout, and 4th game in a row, not seeing much firepower at all from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Been disappointing. They got to turn this thing around and do it soon. Bottom of the 5th. Let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
All right, bottom of the 5th and the top of the lineup, it is Bobby Tolan of the Bells. Bobby, 210, rolls the pitcher. Pete Edward Rose, 45 off of Blast is double 108. It's a single. Rose is no longer a B stealer, he's a C stealer. They're going to watch him at first, but he's not a threat to steal at the present. Tony Perez, 56 is a K, and with 2 outs, the 2 for 2, Johnny Bench. 65 is a fly to center field. We'll go to the 6th. Very surprising. The great offenses of the Pirates and Reds are in their 5th consecutive pitcher's duel, at least through 6 frames. Every game has been tight. The Reds got a 8-run game when they blew up in the later innings, but 5th and 6th innings have been important in this series, and here's the 6th inning for the visiting Pirates. Manny Sanguillen, 67, and a leadoff single off of Gullet. This is the roll through the lineup Pirates need right here. Clemente, Stargell, Robertson, Oliver. We'll look at Clemente before he swings. Roberto Clemente, 71 year, a 341 average, 13 home runs. More importantly, crushes lefties more than righties, and this is the moment that they need him to produce if he can. With a runner at first, it's Roberto Clemente. Here's the pitch. 2-6, he comes through with a base hit into right field. Now, on right, you still have Tolan's -2 arm, so Sanguillen will stay at second. 2 on, nobody out, and you got a lefty, Willie Stargell. 56 off Gullet is a fly to right, but again, no one got to third to be a sac fly, as they were timid against the Tolan arm. So it's 1st and 2nd with 1 out. You got Bob Robertson. 6-12 off Gullet is fly ball to right C, too shallow as well to move anybody. And with 2 outs, it's Al Oliver. Let's take a look at him, folks. Oliver is now in center field. They need somebody out there after Matty Alou was traded away. And of course, the Pirates will kind of have a hole in center field until Omar Moreno arrives in 76-77 era. So right now, Oliver is plugging in there, though he's probably playing a little out of position. Probably better suited to be a corner outfielder or first baseman. But anyway, big moment here for Al. 1st and 2nd, 2 outs in the 6th inning. The pitch to Al Oliver. 66 comes through against Gullet with single 1 of 14. But he rolls a 16 in a very terrible break for the Pirates and Al Oliver. Missing the single chance off the Gullet card. That is a liner to short, and the inning's over. 2-1. Reds still holding on here. Bottom of the 6th. Blast is starter 8, Gullet's starter 7. Neither one is going anywhere. Lee May leads off in the 6th. 49 is second X. This is the new second baseman, Rennie Stennett. He's a 40-41. Now you see why he doesn't play every day. And he makes an error, of which he's made a ton of those. And the Reds have the leadoff man on. For Gale Hopkins, 56 off Blast is short X. Again, another problem area. Frank Tavares, defensively, a 3E44. Needs to make a play here, and he cannot. And right here, shortstop error is rolled on an E41 shortstop. Tavares is E44, which is worse, and that's why you leave that result in there. Part of the home field advantage I use. 2 on, nobody out. And it is Concepcion who has had this mysterious run of power in clutch situations. Can he do it again here? The pitch to Dave Concepcion. 3-11 is a walk off Concepcion's card. Oh my, Pittsburgh. Now you need something special happened here. You got Geronimo and Stewart, 2 lefties, not so much, and Bobby Tolan and Pete Rose. The next 4 batters are all lefty. You're not going to pull Blass. It really isn't his fault. You have defensive failures here. And Blass is your ace. And again, he's still good against lefties, just not as good against righties. So nothing's going to change here. And I think you're even going to play it back with nobody outs and hope you get a double play and concede a run. And hope your offense can respond. So they're going to play back for Cesar Geronimo, who homered earlier in this game. And here's the pitch. 54 off a blast to pop out the third. Now strategy might change a little bit. Now they might bring the infield up with 1 out. They want to cut the guy down at the plate. They don't want to give up a run now that there's an out on the board. So Jim Stewart will bat as a left-hander, probably the least accomplished player on this team. The pitch to Jim Stewart. 1-6, but we now have to take a look at the Jim Stewart card. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Stewart had 82 at-bats with the Reds in 71. He had 232, could play outfield and infield. And he has just broken the Pittsburgh Pirates' hearts at this moment. Jim Stewart, 1-6, triple, 1-19, double. It empties the bases, the merry-go-round. The Reds put 3 more on the board. And it is suddenly 5-1. As your bottom 2 hitters, Cesar Geronimo and Jim Stewart, have driven in 4 runs today in a 5-1 game. Runner at third, 2 outs, or still just 1 out, Bobby Tolan. They're going to keep the infield up. 38, Tolan, a clean single to right field. And here it is, 6-1 with the speedy Tolan on. They're holding him. And it's Pete Rose. 43, first X. They need to get this out of Bob Robertson, a 2-11 first baseman. And they do not! They don't do it again. Another error. The 2-11 Bob Robertson, the best defender of Stennett, Taveras, and Robertson. An error, and the nightmare in this rivalry of the Pirates and Reds continues. This is very stunning. A stunning development, as the Pirates are still unable to figure this thing out. You've got 4 guys already in, 1 out and 2 men on base. And again, it really hasn't been Blass' fault, Steve Blass. And he has no earned runs in this frame. And he is the best pitcher. Plus you've got right-handers Perez, Bench, and May coming up. So Blass will continue with 2 on and 1 out, playing back. They got to get a double play. The pitch to Tony Perez. 2-9. And that is your 6-4-3 double play to end the frame. Probably too little and too late for the Pittsburgh Pirates. My goodness, folks, the Reds are up 6-1. Pirates had home field advantage in this particular schedule. They had would have gotten the 4 home games to the Reds 3. Even though the Reds won the division a year ago, that's because the Pirates didn't finish second last year. They finished third. So that's why the Reds didn't get home field in the series. But 6-1 as we go to the 7th. Don Gullett's breaking inning. Oh, by the way, yeah. Jim Stewart, that was a nice hit. Why don't you take the afternoon off? Tommy Helms, the 1E10, will play second base. John Vukovic will come in Tony Perez's spot. Play third base. Those guys are both 1s. 9 outs to get for Clay Carroll, Jim Strickland, Wayne Granger, Pedro Bourbon, and of course, Don Gullett here at the top of the 7th. Leading off, it'll be Richie Zisk. 3-12 is a line out to second. Frank Taveras. 1-5 is a fly ball to center. And with 2 outs, it is Rennie Stennett. Let's take a look at the card. It's, a 353 card in 71. When Dave Cash got hurt, Stennett played second base. But interestingly, when they got into the World Series, it was Cash returning to play second with Stennett on the bench, probably because of defense. Stennett, crushes both sides, but the defense has failed him at the worst time. Plus, he's having a hard time hitting 300 with his card. So it's been kind of a rough couple years for Rennie Stennett. Here is the pitch. 49 off Gullett is a liner to first. And with 2 outs, well, that's the end of the inning, yeah. 3 up and 3 down in the top of the 7th inning. Stretch time in Cincinnati, and they are all smiles, you know, wearing those World Series rings of a year ago. We are enjoying the Isley Brothers 1971 LP, giving it back. Ohio folks, Isleys, doing a lot of cover songs of other artists of the day. Ohio, Fire and Rain, Lay Lady Lay. Here they're doing the Spill the Wine. Isley Brothers, giving you some of the best hits of the late 60s, early 70s. Bottom of the 7th. Blast will continue at least to bench in May, and we'll see what happens after that. Johnny Bench. 4-4. 4-4 is homer 1 to 7, fly ball the rest, but because it's the Cincinnati world we're living in, Johnny Bench hits the homer on a 5 off the blast card. It is 7-1. And it'll be Lee May. 47 off a blast is a single 1 to 17, but now shoes on the other foot. He misses that. It's interesting that the Reds hit the low probability homer chance and missed the high probability single chance. Like everything is going the Reds' way. 6 1/3, and that is going to be it for Blast. Just a real discouraging time for the Pirates. Down 6 in an elimination game against your bitter rival. And Ramon Hernandez will come out of the Pirate bullpen, one of the best left-handed relievers in this era. 72 Pirate. He was 5-0 with a 167 ERA in 70 innings. Ramon Hernandez needs to button the rest of this up to give the Pirates any chance. Batting for Gail Hopkins will be backup catcher Ken Southbound Suarez, and I'll take over for DH. Pitch to Suarez. 5-12, pitcher B. 2 outs. It's Concepcion. 1-12, fly ball to left. All right, we'll go into the 8th inning. Gullett, 6 outs away with a 7-1 lead. He will face the lefties in this frame, Hebner, Stargell, possibly Oliver. Richie Hebner. 34, flies to center. Manny Sanguillen, 57 is a K, and with 2 outs, it's Roberto Clemente. 3-10 gets a single. Probable final batter, Willie Stargell. The pitch to Pop Stargell. 35, let's take a look at it, folks. Yeah, the magical Willie Stargell 71 card, probably an MVP in most seasons, but Joe Torre had his magical year as well, and Torre hit 363 with 124 RBI, so Stargell has to be a runner-up for that award. 3-5. Stargell will have the last laugh with the World Series hardware, of course. 3-5, homer 1 to 7 double. It's a 2-base hit. You got Robertson, and then if he gets on, that would essentially break Gullett. But he'll pitch to Bob Robertson. 2-7 is a strikeout. Gullett will probably continue into the 9th to face Oliver and then come out for a reliever. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Ramon Hernandez continues. It's Cesar Geronimo. 47, single 1 to 9. He gets it. Tommy Helms will do a hit and run in the 9 spot. Moves the runner up. Runner at second for Bobby Tolan. 65, second C. Runner goes to third, 2 outs for Pete Rose. 1-7, Pete Rose with a base hit with 2 outs and a runner in. Oh, he was at third. Yeah, he advanced 2 bases. So yeah, that scores that run, makes it 8-1. And now John Vukovic in there defensively for Tony Perez. Lines are short. This is all academic, folks. 8-1 in the 9th inning. And I think we'll just pull Gullett. Why have him go back out there? He might get hit by a line drive. So Gullett will just sit in the dugout, and they'll bring in Jim Strickland in the 9th to see if he can finish this off. Strickland, interestingly, was a Twin in 71 with a 145 ERA. Tom Hall also was with the Twins and the Reds, and Hall got taken away from Cincinnati, so the Reds took Strickland away from Minnesota. So Jim Strickland is the lefty setup guy for the Cincinnati Reds. In the 9th inning, it'll be Al Oliver. 1-8 is a grounder to the first. Richie Zisk, 2-3, rolls to third, and with 2 outs, it's Frank Tavares. 2-5, rolls too short. Seems pretty darn easy, doesn't it? The Cincinnati Reds, World Series champion, trying to repeat. I haven't had a team repeat as a World Series champion. At least not in this format, I would say. I mean, you know, playing Strat-O-Matic a long time, but in this 4-year carryover league format, I haven't had a repeat winner. And the Reds aren't, you know, they lost the first series to Houston, so they're not running away with this, but they made a statement in this series. Strickland 3 up and 3 down in the 9th. Don Gullett gets the win, 9 hits and a run. Too many left on base for the Pirates. No walks. One of the things about these Pirates, they're free swingers. They don't draw a lot of walks, and that's something that really helps Strat-O-Matic teams on base. Walks, they don't do it. Ramon Hernandez did give up 2 hits and a run in the 8th. Steve Blass, his defense let him down at the worst possible time. He did give up 9 hits and is going to have 7 runs in this game, but when you look at it, only 3 are earned. An okay start, not an amazing start, of course. 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. 1009, 0108, 81119, 04, 244, 04. That is game 5. We'll look at the stats in a moment. That is game 5 from Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. The Reds have won this series 4 games to 1. Wow. We were thinking things were going to change this year. Maybe the law of averages would catch up. Maybe the Pirates were simply unlucky the last few years. Maybe luck was going to change. But it hasn't thus far, folks. Still a lot of season left. And again, the Reds and Pirates, you'd have to think, would have really good chances to make the playoffs, at least as wild cards, beyond anything else. So when we look at the numbers here, both teams are stacked against each other. Right now, the Reds are 8-5, the Pirates are 7-8. Again, there's plenty of baseball to be played. The Reds, interestingly, only hitting 249. Rather interesting. The Big Red Machine hitting 249. You got Johnny Bench's MVP card to 72. Pete Rose's MVP card to 73. You know, a very good Bobby Tolan 72 card. But the Reds are doing it with their pitching. A 2.84 team ERA for the Cincinnati Reds. My goodness. The Red bullpen of Clay Carroll, Strickland, and Wayne Granger has only given up 2 runs in 20 innings. Dave Concepcion, yes, ladies and gentlemen, is pacing the Reds with 5 home runs in 52 at-bats. That is, of course, not going to maintain. Johnny Bench has 3, as does Lee May and Tony Perez. That makes a whole lot of sense. And for your 7-8 Pirates, they're hitting 250 with a 298 ERA. Their numbers are eerily similar to the Reds. But Steve Blass is 1-4 in 5 starts, pitching on short 3 days rest. Interestingly, he's given up 19 runs, but only 12 are earned. So you're seeing it right there. The Pirates have scored 55 runs, but they've only given up 54, but only 43 have been earned. So this should be a team with a winning record, but their defense has really hurt them. Plus the inability to get walks and bat around, and yeah. You do have 5 home runs for Bob Robertson. Stargell with 3. Yeah, 7-8, 7-8. Taking just a quick peek here overall at this point. Of course, we don't sort this yet, but you know, the Reds are 8-5 here, and they are technically in first place. You have the Cubs, and now the Pirates with a losing record. Cardinals started hot, then they stumbled. They still have to play in this round. Break up your Cincinnati Reds, making this year exciting as they attempt to repeat in a much tougher National League. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.